The Spirit drove him into the desert. Not the devil. The Spirit. That's the first thing Matthew tells you about the temptation of Jesus, and most people read right past it. Let's go to the text. Matthew 4, part 1, just the first half of one verse. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. That's it. That's what we're looking at today. One clause. But there's so much packed into it that it's worth slowing all the way down. Because the verb in the Greek, anago, doesn't mean gently guided. It means led up, taken up. It's the same kind of word you'd use for bringing a sacrifice to the altar or leading troops into position. It has a purposeful, almost forceful weight to it. And the subject of the verb isn't Satan. It isn't fate, it's the Spirit. The same Spirit that descended on Jesus at his baptism in the very previous scene. Dove, voice from heaven, this is my beloved Son. That same Spirit immediately turns around and drives this man into the desert to be tested, and Mark's version is even sharper. Mark uses the word ekbalo, throughout, expelled. The same word Jesus uses when he casts out demons. The Spirit didn't whisper a suggestion. The Spirit moved. Now here's the piece of historical context that changes how this sounds. The phrase led into the wilderness would have landed immediately for a first-century Jewish reader, because they'd heard this before. Israel was led into the wilderness by God. 40 years. And in Deuteronomy 8, Moses explains why. He says God led the people into the wilderness to humble them, to test them, to find out what was in their hearts. That's the language. To find out what was in their hearts. The wilderness was never an accident. It was a deliberate stripping away. God walked his people into emptiness on purpose. And now here's Jesus, fresh from his baptism, fresh from the voice that said he was God's Son, and the Spirit takes him out to the same place. Same duration, 40 days, 40 years, same logic, humbling, testing, finding out what's in there. So what does that do to your reading of this story? Most people read Matthew 4 as a story about the devil. Satan shows up, tries 3 times, Jesus quotes scripture, Satan leaves. The temptation is the main event, and the Spirit is just the taxi driver who dropped Jesus off. But Matthew is saying something harder than that. The trial wasn't something God allowed to spite himself. God initiated it. The Spirit is the agent of action in this sentence. The devil shows up later in verse 3. After Jesus has already been in the desert 40 days, the Spirit sets the stage. The wilderness is chosen. The emptiness is intentional. And that reframes everything. Because if God sent his own Son into hardship on purpose, then hardship doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean absence. It doesn't mean abandonment. It might mean the opposite. Think about the moment you're in right now. Maybe you're in something that feels like wilderness. Something stripped back, reduced, not what you expected. A season where the clarity you had 6 months ago is gone. A role that used to feel full of meaning that now just feels empty. A relationship that's gone quiet. And the natural read is, something went wrong. God's not here. I must have missed something. But Matthew's structure says, consider the possibility that you were led here. That what feels like absence is actually a kind of preparation. That the Spirit who was present at your high point didn't vanish at the hard point. That the wilderness is the next scene, not the end of the story. This isn't a promise that everything works out. It's stranger than that. It's the claim that the Spirit of God moves toward difficulty, not away from it. That the same Spirit who shows up at the moment of belovedness turns immediately toward the place where that belovedness gets tested. The carry line for today, the Spirit that said beloved is the same Spirit that led into the desert. This week we're in Matthew 4, 1 and 2. 2 verses, 6 days, and we're going to go slow because every word in this passage is doing something. Tomorrow we're sitting with the 40 days and 40 nights, what that number means, what it signals, and what Matthew wants you to understand about Jesus. Before the devil even opens his mouth, come back for that.